Okay, so we're gonna press in for 20 minutes. Again, I don't want to go over, and 20 minutes goes by so fast. So fast, but it's good because, discipline, to stay focused. I said last time that I was going to begin talking about something in the tabernacle, but I've been instructed to go back, so I have to go back. One of the things that we do have to consider is when a letter is written. Now, I'm not teaching, First John. I'm pulling things out of First John that I see that we're dealing with today. And so there's already been instruction in righteousness given. The word of God must be our standard and our go-to, regardless of the times that we're in, regardless of how things are said to be evolving and shifting. There are things that have not changed, but have, yes, evolved into something worse. But the word of God it is so. It is final. It is the standard, right, by which we live. Not rules and regulations, but life. Life. It is our life, right? So regardless of how things are happening and changing, the word of God continues forever in its state. It doesn't need to change. It doesn't need to evolve. It is perfect within itself, right? Okay, so I have to go back. So Ephesus, we have to look at the letter that John was writing. This letter that John was writing was to Ephesus. Ephesus was a port where almost any and everything came in and out. It had to pass through Ephesus. So you can imagine all the trends and the fads and philosophies and things that went through. And so we know that when Paul dealt with this church in Acts, this is where John, it is said that he ended up spending his final days, right, in Ephesus. So there was a lot of things going on in there. And, false teachings was one. A lot of times people assume that false teachings come from the outside into the church or try to invade, physical ministries and stuff. But sometimes there are teachings that come from within, like a mole, that have come in among and try to spread, not necessarily trying to invade this way, but springing out from. So, and I say that because the Greeks, when we see in Corinthians, now John is writing to not just Jews, but Greeks, all different types of cultures and ethnic group, again, pass through Ephesus and remain in Ephesus. So it is a mixture of a diverse group of people, but nevertheless, the word of God does not change with cultures. It does not conform to your ethnic group. Okay, it remains the same. So you must allow the renewing of the mind, the being transformed by the renewing of your mind. All right. So the word of God must be spoken. The churches at Ephesus had issues with this because of the Greeks. Love, that's the Greeks. False doctrines and faith, that's the Jews. So the Jews have consistently had an issue with faith and doctrine. The Greeks had issue with love. Why? They're much learning. They're much learning. Paul said, I think it was in Corinthians, he said, knowledge puff up or causes you to become proud. And see, pride will choke the love out of anything. Because of what you know, you don't extend compassion or mercy. So in Corinthians 12, dealing with the Greeks, Paul says, if I have all of these giftings, everything, and I don't have love, I'm paraphrasing, but you can go to Corinthians 12. If I don't have love, I'm just basically a noise maker. I'm just making noise. All right. Paul's first epistle to Timothy, which is in the mid-60s AD, we begin to see some evidence of this doctrinal shift, okay, of what versus what was spoken to the Corinthians and to Ephesus in the beginning. So Paul says, as I urge you upon my departure, Timothy, for Macedonia, remain on at Ephesus, so that you may instruct certain men not to teach strange doctrines, nor to pay attention to myths and endless genealogies, chapter 1, verse 3 and 4, which give rise to mere speculation rather than furthering the administration of God, which is by faith. So John in the book of Revelation and then John, 1 John, was still addressing this same problem. Okay? All right. So 1 John says, that which, not who, that which is from the beginning. Now let's stop right here. To the Greeks, that's Alpha. All right? To the Jews, that's Aleph. Alpha, Omega to the Greeks. Aleph to the Hebrews. Now let's look at when this word was used. The beginning. Right? Revelations 1:8. Let's go there. I'm doing this way so that you can see that I'm actually going to the Word of God at this moment. Okay. Revelation 1:8. God said of himself, I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the ending. When God says he's Alpha and Omega, he's not talking about the beginning. He began when time began. He is from the beginning. He is from the beginning. He is without end. So it's almost like he is without beginning, without end, yet from the beginning, it's limitless. Omega, limitless. All right. Let's go back. I just wanted to read. This is what God has said of himself. So when John says that which is from the beginning, he's not speculating or coming up with his own idea of beginning. He is taking what God has said of himself. So he is referring to God himself. Okay? All right. To the Alpha. So to the Hebrews, we see A and we see the number 1. And they go by pictures. And we're going to get into that too. Revelation 1:11, God refers to himself as Alpha and Omega. Let's look at Revelation 21, right? 21, 1 and 6. There should be a big emphasis put on Revelation 21 and 6 because of what it reveals. And he said unto me, it is done. It is done. So it's like there's an end. But to what? I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of water of life freely. He that overcomes shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he shall be my son. Okay. Let's go back. This is what God has already said of himself. All right. It shows the intent of God from the beginning. That's why I looked at Revelations. I'm sorry. Let me go back. I have to say this before I continue next week, so I do want to. just told you. All right. Revelation 21. 26. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth. Why is that a big deal? Because in the beginning, in Genesis, it says God made the heaven and the earth. Revelation 21, John said, I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. So when he said there was no more sea, the Spirit of the Lord hovered over the waters, when we see in Genesis, in the beginning of the making of the heavens and the earth. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, behold, the tabernacle of God. Now, this is why, because I did want to touch on certain things in the tabernacle, okay, that revealed who God is. So I had to go back. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them and be their God. And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. And he that sat upon the throne said, behold, I make all things new. I make all things new. I that made everything. Colossians let us know that all things were made by him, through him, and for him. And by him all things do exist. This is that he. And he said unto me, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm sorry. And he that sat upon the throne and said, behold, I make all things new. And he said unto me, write, for these words are true and faithful. They are true and faithful. There's no need for the changing, evolving. He said unto me, it is done. It is done. It is done. What is that? It is done. And I am Alpha and Omega. See, this was God's intention from the beginning. He said unto me, it is done. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. And I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of water and of life freely. Now, I had to read that because there was an intention in the beginning of God had an intention, right? There comes a time where he said, it is finished. All right? God made the heavens and the earth. Right? Okay. Then he made a new. But God also created man. God put man in the earth that he created. He gave him dominion. So if God made that anew, there's something that he has to also do with his creation, that man that he created. There's something that has to, if there is a new earth and a new heaven, there has to be a newness when it comes to that which he put in the earth for himself. Okay? So I had to say that. I wanted to go back and say that. Because sometimes we talk about a thing without the revealing of the intent. And the intent sometimes get lost in all of the other things. So I wanted to say that first, that God has always has an intent. God is not reacting. The things that he has done, that he will do, and what he is doing is not a reaction reaction to something. It's not a reaction to what is being done or what will be done or what has been done. It has always been his intent, and he will fulfill his intent, his heart's desire. Christ has come, the word of God, to do the will of God. So there was an intent before. There was a purpose. There was a plan before he even came. Before he comes again, there will be things that have to happen. But God is in control because he has from the beginning had an intent for all things. Yes? Amen. Okay. So, Alpha, Omega to the Greek, beginning and the end. Aleph, Tav to the Hebrew. But there's something in between. There is something in between. We see alphabet. You read from this in Hebrew, you read from this way to this way, right? Alphabet. Et is in the middle. Et is what joins the beginning and the end. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Tav is the last character in the Hebrew alphabet, right? Et. That's okay. Why is that important? It represents a sacred enclosing, but it also has it's a picture of a cross. That's what's in the middle. There's a beginning, there's an end, but in the middle, there's a cross. Why is that important? When we look at beginning, the picture the Hebrews have is an ox. It's an ox, an ox. If you are looking down at the ox from being the farmer or the one who yoked them together, the oxes together, and you look down, you will see this. This is the head of the ox. This is the yoke. It's a cross. Right? Okay. I just want to give you pictures. but it represents also an enclosed place, which is interesting. And the most important closed place that has been on the earth is the Holy of Holies, right? In the temple or in the tabernacle, which represents the presence of the Lord. Let's go to Revelation 22, 13. I'm sorry, 22:13. I'm going back and I'm looking at my notes because I have to say these things. They're like foundational. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. Verse 12, he says, and behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me to give every man according as his work. It's interesting. The ox. Work shall be. I am Alpha and Omega, beginning and the end, the first and the last. Blessed are they that do his commands, that they may have right to the tree of life. My 20 minutes is up, so we're going to continue having laid that foundation. We're going to go into some places, pressing 20 more minutes. I hope that as I speak, as I share, it is impressing upon your mind a picture of who God is and what his intent is, so that you may allow the aligning of the intent of his heart to align, your life, to align your life up with his divine will. Be blessed.